Hello YouTube, this is RHMakes Studio, and for Halloween, we're going to take another shot at the
perfect organism.
I've always absolutely adored Giger's design of the Big Chap in the original Alien, and lo and behold, as soon as I finished my first Xenomorph build, I came upon this amazing file. I purchased the files from NeroStudios on Etsy. You'll find all the links in the description below. They were around $20 when I got them, but they were worth every penny as they were so simple to work with and they printed beautifully, as you can see here. The first thing I needed to do was attach this top lip to the upper jaw area. I did this using my wood burner and welded it right in place. And with that, I could get on to sanding. I wanted this to look the best it possibly could, so using the steps listed by Mother, I got to work. Be sure to always wear proper PPE when sanding anything like 3D printed plastics, paint, or anything else. I finally finished my first 3 rounds of sanding and came to the conclusion that this piece had an
interesting combination of elements, making him a tough little son of a...
I carried on through wet sanding and finally got to a point where I was happy to start priming and painting. These teeth had extra work put into them because I knew I wanted to go in later on with a chrome paint job. Everything got a few heavy coats of Rust-Oleum filler primer, then was wet sanded with a 400 grit sandpaper. After wet sanding all of my primed pieces, there were a few spots that still needed some extra attention. These would get filled with Bondo filler and spot putty. However, the teeth only needed to be gone over with an 800 grit sandpaper. They were so perfect and I'm so happy that I put the extra time into it. I managed to vacuform the dome on my second try this time, so I improved from the last time. I did this by filling my actual model with sand to kind of bulk up my plastic so it didn't get those lines and designs from the infill that I had last time. For painting, all of my pieces would get a matte black base coat, except for the skull here, which got a white base coat. You can see I masked the skull off just to go in and give the bottom part of the model that black base coat. For the teeth, I really wanted to make sure they would shine, and hopefully if the paint went on right, they would have some reflectivity. So I used Rust-Oleum metallic silver, which I found to be very close to chrome, especially if you don't get fingerprints or any kind of tarnishing on it, and you don't clear coat it. So these would stay just with the paint on. I needed to start staining the skull to more of a bone color. I did this by mixing different proportions of burnt sienna, raw umber, black, and white paints all mixed in water. These coats got heavier and heavier as I went, so I started adding less water to the mix. Now for the airbrushing. Please enjoy this ginormous montage. I started with highlights put on all of my pieces in this light gray, leaning towards white color. This was just to build up a base for the next color. And next was this nasty puke green color that I mixed up, which actually went on really great and it was the exact color from my references. And then I added these little black veins which run all over the xenomorph skin. It really took me a while to figure out how I was going to do this, and it was in all of my references, so I needed to get it in there. I decided to airbrush the dome again, just like my last Xenomorph build. Again, just because I don't like the dyeing process and it usually fails for me. So this is just my better alternative. The paint job on everything came out really great, and I completely surprised myself. I didn't know that I was capable of doing that, but apparently I am. And while we talk about things that turned out great, look at these chompers. They came out so amazing, and I couldn't believe how shiny they were. I moved on to attaching the teeth into the top and bottom jaw with E6000, but I needed to be really careful because anytime my fingers touched the teeth, the silver paint would rub off. I know this from experience using this paint, so I needed to just barely touch the pieces that were not visible. After letting the E6000 dry for 24 hours, I came back and checked the reflectivity on my teeth, and I could see my finger in them. My final step was a light gray dry brushing on some of the details on the lower jaw. Special thanks to NeroStudios for the files and Carl Casey at White Bat Audio for my Glamour Shop music. I hope anyone watching this has a very spooky Halloween. If you liked the video, leave a like, and if you want to see more, consider subscribing. Stay safe, and if you find any alien eggs, don't put your head over top of them.